Well, you guys, I've been doing this YouTube thing now for, I don't know, since 2013. And I just thought maybe I'll tell a little backstory on how I got here and what I used to do. So, I don't know, around 2013 or so, I started working on a lot of my stuff, and I always have been. But it was kind of a way to just keep my mind off of what I was doing at the time for work. And that was, I was, I started out as a sound engineer. So I went to school for that and worked in some studios, and originally started out like in Houston, Texas, and moved to Nashville because I wanted to finish my degree and just maybe do a minor electronic engineering or something to have something to fall back on. But I suppose, I really enjoyed the road and, or wanted to be on the road, I'm sorry. And so that's what I did. I went to college and got a degree in recording industry and got a minor in electrical engineering. They called it industrial studies, but it was basically it was electronics. So, I got out of college, and what did I wanted to do? Well, I wasn't sure. I guess I started out playing in bands and things, and just saw that as maybe, get with some people, and who knows. So I started out and I worked in some studios while I was going to school. And when I got out of school, I worked for like a publishing company down Music Row and some recording studios, and kind of came to the point where I hated being in a studio, mostly because you're just confined. You're stuck in there, and yeah, it's anyway. You know, you see a lot, oh, the magic or whatever, but it doesn't really. It became work, so I started working as a sound engineer for different people, and you know, landed my basically my first pro gig out running sound where there were thousands of people. I didn't know what I was doing. I worked for like Mark Farner from Grand Funk and did that for a little while, and then that led into different things. Landed a job working for a guy named Leon Russell and traveled on the road with Leon for 5 years, I think it was. Ran sound for him and then also tour managed. So it was mostly a road manager type of gig, but worked for him for 5 years and then kind of found myself on the other side of that and decided to do country in town where I'd been out with this legend, and then now suddenly I'm kind of fighting with all the guys that want to do the new artists. I kind of wanted to do that too because I thought maybe it'd be better longevity. So I worked for different people. I worked for a young girl named Julie Roberts, and she had a song like, Break Down Here. And did the whole country music festival thing. And anyway, that ran its course. And then I worked for a guy named Colin Ray. And Colin was probably the best singer that I ever worked for. He was just really great. Still is. But Colin was kind of on the backside of his bell curve, so to speak. And so he was struggling a bit. And then I decided to do something else, and I think that led me to like Colt Ford, and I was with Colt for 4, 5 years, something. And while he was first kind of getting going and being established, and then I worked for uh, a guy named Rodney Atkins after that. Country seemed to be like it paid better, and I like they were weekend warrior kind of thing where they'd go in and come out. It was a lot of Thursday through Sunday kind of shows. And you'd be home during the week. I like that. With Leon, we were just gone. And then with Colt Ford, we were really gone too. So when I got in with Colt, the Rodney thing was really appealing because he didn't work that much. Um, After Rodney was done, then I spent a year with Steve Earle, and that was very interesting. And, and then COVID hit. 2020 was a terrible year for everybody. And I just kind of started doing this kind of work. I basically put an ad out on Craigslist and had enough work that it sustained me, and we haven't stopped since then. So that year, 2020, my dad passed away, and so that was rough. It was later in the year, and then of course 2021 hasn't really, for a lot of people, just hasn't been much better. And so we've continued to just keep making videos. I say we, me. Uh, anyway, just continue to make videos and post them and be home. And I've really enjoyed just being home. It's been kind of a blessing just to not have to pack my bags and be gone for 4 or 5 days, and then you got to come home and decompress, and everything that you left when you left your home, and all of a sudden you get home and you're like, man, I got to do all this stuff. So that was there were a lot of really great things about the road, and I'm glad that I did them. I know that not everybody gets to do something like that, or if they do it and they realize at the time that this isn't for me, and then some of us, that's the only thing we can see doing. And I ran the gamut, county fairs, theaters, large scale festivals. And we were talking 20,000 people. I think the largest crowd that I might have ever mixed for was maybe, close to 50,000 people. It was huge. Um, I mixed sound during the CMA festival downtown several times on the riverfront. It's something that I did for like 20 years. So really, I ran sound probably longer than that because like I said, I played in bands, and nothing ever really became of it. Not even like a local band where we started all the way back to like 1983, 84. I mean, I had my brother playing guitar in a bar when he was 15 years old. So did that until I went to college in Houston, and was kind of a luck on the draw thing. And at the point in my life where I was trying to decide, well, what am I going to do? Because I could see that unless you just kind of hit it big with a song, or you met some people to point you in the right direction, give you any kind of direction. It's not like these days where you can watch YouTube about the music business. You can try to figure out how to promote yourself, how to get recognized by a record label, uh, all those sorts of things. Um, it's just really difficult, and people do it. It's just for me, it never happened. So then when I got to Nashville, I still had the idea of playing with people, but I wanted to learn how to like record my own stuff, and everything was at that point was very expensive. So you had to go to a studio to make a demo. Now you can just get software and you can just make it yourself. You don't even need to have a record label, any of that sort of thing. I even went through the years in college there in Tennessee, south of Nashville. I formed a record label. It was called Waxing Records. And, it's weird to taste in your music. And those days, I had some metal bands and I had, some other bands, but not country. And I should have probably been more involved in the countryside from the very beginning. I would have done a lot better. But, then our classic rock artists that I came to know and work for. And like Mark Farner, I was like, I don't know who Mark Farner is. I don't know this guy. And then, it was great every night to hear I'm Your Captain, you know. And so anyway, I did that. And then Leon, I didn't know Leon anyway either. And I remember the first time that I saw him, I was like, check this guy out. He had the big long white beard and things, and I was like, man, check that guy out. But I came to know him and love him and his family, and you know, uh, just lots of things. And did several of Willie Nelson picnics. Talked to Willie on the phone. Met and knew uh, Pootie from Willie, who's his road manager, that passed away. I've known him for, you know, several years there. Maybe one time he said, how long you worked for Leon Russell? And I said, man, I worked for like 5 years. And that was towards the end. And he goes, man, that's like 20 years, because he knows Leon. And he taught me a lot. Didn't make a lot of money then, but it was pretty amazing getting basically the red carpet rolled out everywhere we went. And LA, different people came to shows. Carrie Busey and I forget the main character from Dallas, the TV show. She used to come out, and there was Willie's wife, and I mean, man, I remember Norman, Oklahoma, opening up for, oh man, I can't remember. I'm sorry, but yeah, we did a lot of different things. It was a lot of fun, but then I started doing this, and I really enjoy it, and I enjoy making movies, or well, YouTube movies, or you know, different things. So uh, I just thought I'd do this where I would like kind of give some backstory, because maybe not everybody does this kind of thing, and I knew it from the start. I was like, well, it's a very niche thing. I wasn't trying to get famous or even to have like, you know, who knows. I was just doing it mostly just to remember what I did. Because my memory's not great. It's like I remember a lot of details, but when you're doing this kind of thing, lots of pictures on your phone and lots of just taking some video, and then you're like, wait a minute, what did I do? Oh, okay. That's not too bad. And learn. So every day I learned something new, essentially. And I wasn't going to pigeonhole myself down to just one brand of motor. and I wasn't gonna go to school to become a marine mechanic, but I've been around and worked on enough cars and all you name it, lawnmowers and just about everything you can imagine to try to figure out how it works. I had a Volkswagen bus even before I moved to Houston that I worked on, and it was kind of weird because like years later I had another vehicle or somebody or something, and it was just not running right, and I never could figure out the problem. And then years later, I had another vehicle, and it was the same problem. And then I realized, oh, you know what? It was probably, I don't remember what it was, like a fuel pump or something. Uh, and I'm like, oh, that's what it was. So I think all my experience over the years have kind of made me up where I've learned so much that I know how to take things apart or see how they work, try to put them back together. And sometimes I make a lot of mistakes. Sometimes I don't, you know. But after you do something like it's really difficult, you learn how to do it better the next time, and then maybe even the time after that. So, uh, just threw a bunch of random video. Just thought I would kind of tell a little backstory on that. And anyway, it's been a fun ride. It's certainly paid off in a lot of ways. Uh, I guess not sure what else to talk about. I have lots of road stories. I mean, I got tons of those road stories. I used to try to get Leon to talk about things because he was a real quiet guy. When he'd get on stage, he would just pound the keys and he would get out. But then every once in a while, he would tell a story. And I mean, the audience was like glued to him because they had never heard these stories. And I mean, now it's like you see more of it where, you know, you see somebody like Eric Clapton tell a story about something. Um, but it was very much like YouTube has kind of become where you're almost like, it's like, I say it's like the movie, you know, being John Malkovich because, you know, only difference is you know that you're recording it, putting it out there, but whereas like, you know, he didn't know. But one thing that I kind of learned from Leon was like of the school when he moved to LA and started kind of working as a side guy, working for, you know, and becoming part of the, you know, Wall of Sound in LA. They did demos for all kinds of artists. It was that like you would record it that night and the next morning it would be on the radio. They would do things really fast then. And then even into his later years when even while I was out on the road, I would go to his house and we would record when we're not out on the road because sometimes we would take some time off. I mean, he would tour about 200 dates a year, so he was gone. And there's, you know, about 100 days that he would be at his house, and so that we would record, and he could pound the songs out. I mean, he'd be 2 or 3 songs a day. He from nothing, and he would write it. He would put vocals to it, and it would be done. Now later on, we might mix it or something, but generally the mix that we did that day was done. A lot of those songs probably will never see the light of the day, but like Leon said, you never know when you're going to have something that somebody really enjoys. So that mentality is kind of what I was thinking I would do, where I would just, you know, video as much as this as possible. And then, you know, it's like if there is something that somebody, you know, really benefits them, that's great. but it's also part of, I guess, my life story. It's like, well, I did this and this is what we're doing. And so it became something that's a little different, I guess. And it's niche oriented. I don't expect to make, thousands of dollars. It's just something that I'm doing, and we'll see where it lands at the end of the day, I guess. But this is part of life, and people that go out on the lakes and stuff enjoy it. It's probably if somebody like people that do this, like go out fishing and go out and enjoy the lake, go out even just cruising around or whatever it is they do. It takes them. It's kind of like a concert where it takes them away from just the daily grind, and the drama, because there's a lot of drama in the world, and oftentimes I think we're not looking for this kind of drama, and it just comes to us, and we're just like, oh my God, would will they just get over it? Um, and you could go out on the lake and go have fun, fish, and then those all that is gone. It's just disappeared. You're not thinking about it. You're thinking about whatever it is you're out there doing, and you're enjoying life. I call it enjoying life because that's the part of life we should enjoy. God's creation and each other's company instead of being dragged down by whatever might be happening in your life, your family, your job, all that kinds of things. I think everybody has to have some sort of hobby that they really enjoy to do, just for those few brief fleeting moments that you can not think about those other things, and try to keep the stress from being, so great. And sometimes even like doing this is really like doing a puzzle, a really difficult puzzle, and it is frustrating. It's very frustrating, but it's like a different kind of frustrating. So anyway, just sitting here having my coffee, thinking about some things, and just threw a bunch of random video together and do a voiceover underneath it, and just kind of tell some of that backstory. And I don't know if anybody cares, or maybe, who knows, but especially if like my family years down the road, they can see this video and that didn't know me, because I have some family members. I have one set of family members that my cousin Brett and his wife, which I dearly loved, and they had a bad car accident, and they had two young children, and maybe one day they'll watch this, and because they've grown up now where I don't really know them that well. And some other kids on my other side of the family, they don't really know me that well. Not like we daily interact. And then there's lots of you folks, all the people that have subscribed and watched my channel, and some of the people that I've met, like Frank, and um, got even recently Tim and his brother. Just a lot of people from the folks that are providing parts, and some of the people that I've met here in town in Nashville, and like James at Performance Propeller, and um, they're just all like my kind of people. And you guys are all my kind of people too. So I don't worry about what any naysayers say. You know, I guess the big takeaway is God will take care of you. He's taking care of me with this. Provided me an income when I didn't see an income because the music business was completely shut down. And even if I wanted to make a lateral move in the music business, say to a managerial role, you think about it, a sound engineer, his length of service to his job is limited to his hearing, and we all, as we get older, our hearing does degrade. I'm not saying that my hearing's bad, but you know, a guy like me, really experienced, I can look at a console and look at how my filtering or my EQ is to know that that's not right. I know the microphone, I know the whole signal path, I know exactly how it should sound. If it doesn't sound right, I can immediately look at the board and adjust it, and then it sounds 10 times better. And I say I got to the point of, like, you have levels of sound engineering, and I got to the level of ninja. It was like that. I could pretty much go in and just make something happen, anything. And I tried to always operate, and I'm still doing that in this job where I told other younger engineers after I'd been on the road for many years, I told them that, like, look, you have to try to achieve a 90% consistency level every night. If you can do that, then you're valuable, you know. So some venues, you might play some venues that were horrible sounding rooms, period. So you had to try to figure out how to make those rooms still sound really good, not have any feedback issues, no kind of technical issues. If you could get that to about the 90 percentile, you were doing great. And there were all kinds of environment. So the environmental issues were the biggest obstacle to overcome. And it really is the same thing with these motors because they live in harsh environments. Um, Everything is harsh to them, from the oil, the gasoline, the amount of electricity you can send to them, everything, the wiring, just everything is involved in that process. And if you can, you know, just basically get to this point, I'm not saying a 90 percentile, but if, like, we can get to a level of service, to that or above, I think we're doing really great because, I'm going to try to give people good information that they can use to make a decision for them because they have a monetary value or price or money that they're going to spend on something, and it can become to, like, especially like, say, an older motor. Do I want to put this much into it, whether it's time, money, whatever, or is it I'm going to get something else? I'm just going to move this, keep it somewhere, sell it, whatever, buy something else. Same thing with the boat. So anyway, I just want to reach out to you guys, just shoot you that and tell you thanks for watching, subscribing, liking videos, commenting, all the usual things. But I hope everybody has a blessed day.